useful tools from the kit on the flitter to tie vines to trees that led to and from her favorite food browsing spots and to the river. Her escape routes were all aerial. Before she had taken absence without leave from her situation, Kris had done her homework on more than what was edible on Barevi. She had picked up a good bit of the lingua Barevi, a polyglot language made up from the words of 6 or 7 of the languages spoken by the slaves and used by the masters to convey orders to their minions. She had gleaned some information about those who had invaded Earth, the Catteni. They were not, for one thing, indigenous to this world, but came from a much heavier planet near a galactic center. They were one of the mercenary explorer races employed by a vast federation. They had only recently colonized Barevi, using it as a clearinghouse for spoils acquired looting unsuspecting non-Federation planets, and a rest and relaxation center for their great ship's crews. After years of the free fall of space and lighter gravity planets, Catteni found it difficult to return to their heavy, depressing homeworld. During her brief enslavement, Kris had heard the Catteni boast of dying everywhere in the galaxy except Catteni. The way they played, Kris thought to herself, was rough enough to ensure that they died young, as well as far from Catteni. Huge predators roamed the unspoiled plains and jungles of Barevi, and the Catteni considered it great sport to stand up to a rhino-like monster with only a single spear. That is, Kris remembered with a grim smile, when they weren't brawling among themselves over imagined slurs and insults. 2 slaves, friends of hers, had been crushed under the massive bodies of Catteni during a free-for-all. Since she had come to the valley, she had witnessed half a dozen encounters between the rhinos and the Catteni. Accustomed to a much heavier gravity than Barevi, the Catteni were able to execute incredible maneuvers as they softened their prey for the kill. The poor creatures had less chance than Spanish bulls, and in all the hunts Kris had seen, only one man had been injured, and that had been a slight graze. As the flitters neared, she realized that they were not acting like a hunting party. For one thing, one dot was considerably ahead of the others. And by God, she saw the light flashes of the trailing flitters' forward guns firing at the leader. Hunted and hunters were at the foot of her valley now. Suddenly, black smoke erupted from the rear of the pursued flitter. It nosed upward. It hovered reluctantly, then dove slantingly to strike the tumble of boulders along the river's edge, not far from her hiding place. Kris gasped as she saw a figure, half leaping, half staggering out of the badly smashed flitter. She could scarcely believe that even a Catteni could survive such a crash. Wide-eyed, she watched as he struggled to his feet, then reeled from boulder to boulder to get away from the smoldering wreck. With a stunningly brilliant flare, the craft exploded. Fragments whistled into the underbrush as far up the slope as her retreat, and the idiotic thorn bushes she had recently triggered sprayed out their poison-tipped little darts. The smoke of the burning flitter obscured her view now, and Kris lost sight of the man. The other flitters had reached the wreck and were hovering over it, like so many angry, King Kongish bees, swooping, diving, trying to penetrate the smoke. An afternoon breeze swirled the black clouds about, and Kris caught glimpses of the man, lurching still further from the crash site. She saw him stumble and fall, after which he made no move to rise. Above, the bees buzzed angrily, circling the smoke and probably wondering if their prey had gone up in the explosion. Catteni didn't hunt each other as a rule, she told herself, surprised to find that she was halfway down from her perch. They fight like Irishmen, sure, but to chase a man so far from the city? What could he have done? The crash had been too far away for Kris to distinguish the hunted man's features or build. He might just be an escaped slave like herself. If not Terran, he might be from one of the half-dozen other subjugated races that lived on Barevi. Someone who had had the guts to steal a flitter didn't deserve to die under Catteni force whips. Kris made her way down the slope, careful to avoid the numerous thorn thickets that dominated these woods. She had once amused herself with the whimsy that the thorn were the Goru pair's protectors, but the 2 plants invariably grew close together. At the top of the sheer precipice above the falls of the river, she grabbed the vine she had attached there for speedy descent. Once in the riverbank, she stuck to the dry, flat rocks until she came to the stepping stones that allowed her to cross the river below the wide pool made by the